Okay, this is your May Copic Monkey coloring tutorial. What I'm going to do here is using 2 colors to get the effect that you're using 3 colors. It's actually really simple to do, and it's just leaving a little bit of white space. And what I usually tell people in my classes is kind of think of the Copic markers kind of like a paint on a wall. If you paint your first coat of color, you know, it doesn't get that quite as full of a coverage as you could have. You paint that second layer and it's much bolder, it's brighter, it's more saturated, there's more color. And if you go on with your third coat of paint, it doesn't really change much from your second coat of paint. So it's kind of the same principle with the markers. You lay down 1 layer of color, you'll get kind of a lighter version of that color. You lay on the second color, it's going to be deeper, more intensified. You layer on the third, it doesn't change much from the second. So what we're going to do now is to go ahead, and this is really easy to practice with flowers. This flower is from Unity Stamp Company. It's in one of their Kit of the Month, but it would be easy to practice on any flower. Here's some samples real quick of other ones I did for some of the classes, and you can see kind of the depth of color. This one has Spica pen on it, which is why it's kind of shimmery. But you can see the depth of color that you can get with it. So what we're going to do is take your flower image and draw yourself a little petal within that flower. Can you see that? Okay. So then go ahead and fill out all the way around it. So you've basically created yourself a little white petal inside of your petal. Take your next darkest color, and here I am using RV11 and RV34 since those are the colors that I was showcasing as a technique last time. So you're just going to go ahead and draw around the outside there, like that. And then when you shade the whole thing, you're going to go over the whole thing with your first layer again, so back with RV11. But what you're going to want to do is not put too much color there over the center. So if you need to blend out your colors, you can focus on that outside line, but then just do a quick coating of color there in the center. And you're going to, as you practice the technique, it will become easier. This technique works really well with any area of a stamp that you have a large space to color, that you want to get that 3-tone look just using the 2 markers. And even if you wanted to go on top of that with an even darker color to get even more depth, you can. But I usually start with a light color, so I'm thinking, you know, a color that's ending with a 0 or a 1. 2 at the most is what I prefer for this, but that's not a rule of thumb. That's just a something that I kind of tend to stick to. And then you draw yourself around, and it doesn't even have to be perfect because you're going to go over it again with your first color. You just go over the whole thing then, focusing then on your outside part. Okay, and now so for this particular image, with your outer petals, let me go ahead and remove that. I tape them down to my mat so that way, I don't do that with everything I color, I do that for my tutorials so that way I know that I'm putting it at the right spot. Okay, so for this one I have left the outside bare there so you can see the difference. So what we're going to do then is, instead of going all the way around and leaving just the center, we're just going to do the outside so that way you don't end up leaving yourself too small of a white space. Would be really easy to do if you were also drawing in the center. So you're going to just draw around the outside there, and then go ahead and take your darker color again and go against the edge. And as you might remember, the Copic markers, as soon as that pen tip touches the paper, the ink starts to flow. So if you use a really light hand, it'll be easier to get down into those little crevices down there. Taking your top color again, focus on that line if you need it to blend out a little bit more, and then kind of a quick layer of coat there along your outside so that way you can get that 3-tone look. So that is our technique challenge for you. So go ahead and try that. Of course, if you're a member of the club, you will be getting some stamped out images in your pack of this flower and of Ariana to practice these techniques on, but you can use it on any flower really that has those big bubbly petals, or any stamp images you can try it out on. Okay, thanks.